I don't know who gave people this idea that being a journalist was an easy job. It's not an easy job. And I want to explain to people a little bit about what it means to be a journalist. So, you want to be a journalist. There's no easy way, no right way, no wrong way. I guess the easiest way would be to go to your local newspaper and try to get a job that way, or your local television station. That's kind of how I came up, was through that route. I came up kind of the short route of things. I got a company job and went to work small market, very, very small market. One thing kind of led to another. I've been a habitual freelancer most of my career, actually. I've usually, um, yeah, been a freelancer. So the way the media landscape works, right, is take my old Leatherman tool here, right, which I always carry with me. So some days you need a bottle opener, okay? Other days you just need a nail file, right? Maybe on other days you need to be a pocket knife, right? You need to be the whole tool. Maybe on another day you might need to be a pair of pliers, right? So do you want to work on camera? Do you want to work on photojournalism? Do you want to be a video editor? Do you want to do all these different things? Be a Swiss Army knife. Be a Leatherman, something like that, right? Because be the tool that's needed that day, okay? Be adaptable. Know the skills to be a Leatherman or whatever. Be that kind of a person. Be willing to do whatever it takes. Don't just go into a place and say, well, I want to write stories, or I want to be a photographer, or whatever. I want to do video journalism. Be whatever the job calls for you to be that day. Be persistent. Being persistent is important. Constantly chase the stories. Be on the lookout for the next big thing. Always be looking for something. Always be pitching stories. Myself as a freelancer, I generally have to go out and look for the places that are going to take my stories. Whatever it is that I'm covering that day, or that week, or that month, right? I generally am responsible for all of my own expenses. Sometimes not, sometimes I am. It just depends. But be persistent. Be pleasantly persistent with the editors that you're working with. Build a good contact, whether it's at a smaller place or whether it's at a big magazine. Be adaptable and be persistent, pleasantly persistent, and always be pitching your story ideas, and make sure they're ready to go, because when they're ready to go, sometimes that's when the editors will bite on it. Time management is key. As a journalist, time management is probably one of the most important things that we do. Time and resource management. I'm a producer, so a lot of times when I'm producing a story, time management is really key. And so is resource management. Know what kind of cameras you have, know what kind of audio equipment you have available. Time and resource management is absolutely vital to being able to make a success. If you don't have a tool, know where to get it, know how to get it quickly. Know where your camera rental places are, know where your audio shop is, have a network of people all around the world, and be ready to tap into that network as quickly as you can. Sometimes other photographers will lend you equipment. Sometimes other journalists will let you into a story. We all want to be the person that is prepared. As a freelance journalist, you really have to be prepared. You really have to be on the ball. There's no easy day. No easy day. I mean, you're constantly pitching, you're constantly balancing your finances, you're constantly maintaining your equipment, you're constantly creating content, you're constantly moving forward. There's no easy day. As a freelance journalist, I could fill an 80-hour day. Easy. Being able to cover a story, it's funny because you could cover let's just say you could do landscape photography in the morning, portraits in the afternoon, and do macro photography in the evening. You know, it really all depends on whatever you need to do. So again, that being adaptable is really the biggest fundamental key to making a success as a journalist. Knowing your equipment is pretty important. Knowing how to use, what to use, when to use is probably the most important thing that you could do as a journalist. The second most important thing is building that network, building that network of people that you trust and who trust you and who trust your judgment. That's key. That is really, really key to what you're doing. So being a journalist, breaking into journalism, it can be a difficult way to go. No doubt about it. It's not just going out and being on TV. It's not just going out and doing a story on it, in the paper or magazine. It's about everything. It's about getting your work seen, noticed, and recognized all throughout the marketplace. And you're bringing followers, you're bringing eyeballs, you're bringing people to the stories, right, that you're covering. When these editors look at this stuff, they look at your social media. They're not looking at the aesthetics of your social media. They're just looking at how many followers you're bringing. Legitimate followers, not just, paid followers or people that don't interact. They're looking to see how many people interact with you, how you interact with people, and how many eyeballs you're going to potentially bring to their publication. One of the cool things that I've covered recently was Hurricane Harvey, and that was several years ago. But Hurricane Harvey really showed the best of humanity and the worst of humanity. And a natural disaster has a way of doing that no matter what it is, showing the good and the bad in the world. Being able to do that and cover that from a ground level experience, that's huge. That's huge. And being able to connect with people and see people at their best and their worst, that's really an interesting way of looking at things. And it's a fun part of the job, but it's a realistic part of the job, and it's a tough part of the job. Being a journalist, I wouldn't do anything else. I wouldn't do anything other than being a photojournalist, a photographer. I love looking for assignments. Sometimes it's frustrating, but I love looking for assignments, and I love executing those assignments. I love going out and doing the photos. I love going out and doing the videos. I'm a photographer, so obviously the photography is my favorite part of this stuff. I love it. I love going out doing journalism and telling the story of the world around us. I always try to do something new, something unique. Try to find a story that hasn't been told. Try to find an angle on a story that maybe has already been told, but try to find a different angle to it. Everything from politics and government to social issues, go into it looking for a story wherever it may be. And that's not oftentimes the best stories, but sometimes they're the stories that just keep you out there. A lot of people tell you focus on quantity over quality. I think just the opposite. I think you focus on quality instead of quantity. Focus on doing the right thing. Focus on doing it well. It all comes back to a good story told well. That's what it all comes back to. A good story told well. If you want to be a journalist, you want to be a producer, you want to be a freelancer, whatever it is you want to do in this career of journalism, a good story told well. That's what it all comes down to. You're always going to get people who agree and disagree with whatever you're doing. Just take them with a grain of salt. Politicians, they're always innocent of something. They're always innocent. No matter what you do, they're always innocent. They always in their own. They have these paragod complexes, right? So and they'll spare no expense to prove that you're wrong. This is the modern American politician. They're just a bunch of assholes, and nobody likes them, but they think everybody likes them, right? Because you have to have that mentality to work in politics. You have to think that you're some kind of god, and you have to believe. You have to be a narcissist. First off, you have to be. There's some good ones out there. Most of them aren't. So just approach politics and social issues with that mindset. Another thing is keep an open mind and just expect a pair of lips will say anything. Be prepared to question and question everything. Question everything hard. Question the things that make sense. Question even more the things that don't make sense. Question. Question's the best thing you can do. I enjoy journalism from the standpoint of being able to educate. I didn't have the best education growing up. I grew up in rural South Texas, which was the education system was meager at best. I had a pretty meager education there. It was and still is for most examples a pretty bad educational system in Texas for the most part, despite what we're told. But you have to go out. I didn't have my point to this is I didn't have the best education growing up, so journalism for me was a sort of education, and because I didn't have that complete formal education, I went to this idea of where the world was kind of my canvas, and I let the world kind of be my teacher. It's been a very expensive education, and it's been a very interesting education. But growing up in rural Texas, you didn't have a lot of opportunities to create. There were a lot of closed minds. There were a lot of closed attitudes, and there still are. There still are. A lot of these things in 40 years don't change. But the idea here is approach this with a teacher's heart. I'm Matt. I'm a photojournalist. I'm a producer. I'm a freelancer. Please subscribe to my channel and let's have a conversation about creativity, journalism, art, and making the world a better place along the way. We'll see you.